creating task lists, sort of like an accountability thing with it as well. But she'll go over that command. It's like part 2 of the CRM that we were learning from last week. We will be recording this, so we'll try to get it posted as well, and you guys will have it in your agent newsletter for the week. And in addition to that, what I'm going to go over are the new forms for the COVID forms, the coronavirus forms. They're getting constantly updated. They're getting revised. I remember when the forms first came out, they're like 1 page, and I'm talking specifically for the PEAD. And now they're like 2 pages. They've also added additional forms for both residential sales as well as the lease side. So we're going to go over those just so you guys can get familiar with it as you start getting a listing, or maybe you're going to start getting more stepping out of the house to go do a showing and requesting them from either, for your buyers. So from both ends of the aspect, we're going to go over the forms, show you which forms. And if you have questions, we can go over those as well afterwards, but just so you get more familiar with it. And I'll do that through screen sharing, of course. And if you guys are ready, we can start with that, and then we'll end with Jackie going over the CRM. Does that sound good?
Do you know how long do you anticipate this going?
I think my portion should take like maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do it's just gonna be like a little shortcuts way, or just like a short version of it as well. And it's available. I'll tell you where to get it on Academy Online, where it's way more like descriptive. It's just a lot more time. It's like 45 minutes, an hour. So
okay,
I'm just going to show you the gist of it, and then you guys can go into Academy and look more into it if you want, or if you have questions.
Can I ask you guys something real quick? I have all these people contacting me saying that my website isn't available on a lot of different platforms, or my presence isn't available on there's 40 or 50 platforms it's not available on. Is that something that you guys can help me with, or is that something that I need to pay to have
send
done?
me what that is, because I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
Like a lot of different.
Send me an email and the details of that, so I can look into it.
Okay.
What's going on, Tim?
Mr. Russell's in the house? What?
That's right. Okay, so we'll get started on the COVID forms, so then that way you guys get more and more familiar with it. Again, I'm already getting requests for some of my buyers to come out and start looking at properties again, and I'm exercising with them just the good caution that they should be taking, as well as following up with the listing agent, see what their preference is, because every office is going to have their own sort of broker mandates, as in addition to the state, federal, and local guidelines. So as I was saying earlier on, these forms, let me get into the screen sharing. And then these forms, they're being consistently revised by the CAR. The PED originally, it was just a 1-page form, very simple. And then it started to add more content to it. Now it's 2 pages. So make sure that you guys are using the most current form. If you're using the online system, it automatically updates. If you're using a dashboard, which sometimes I use, which is just an app on my laptop, you have to make sure that it's updating. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. All right, so you guys should see my screen shortly. Let me pull this up. So I'm just going to go on the forms in order. We'll go over the listing forms that are more related to a sale in a transaction. And then the forms will highlight some of the ones that are used in leases. Okay. So starting with the natural path of a transaction, let's start with the listing form. So in addition to your regular RLA, your residential listing agreement, you're now going to have this addendum that comes along with it. So listing agreement for the coronavirus addendum or amendment. Now, in short, what this form does is you're letting the seller know, you're informing the seller that, guess what? Due to the coronavirus pandemic, there are changes in our industry in the way we market properties, in the way we're doing pre-showings, in negotiations and inspections, as well as, other people that are now coming onto their properties. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we're following the state, local, federal guidelines, as well as any type of emergency orders that get into effect that's relating to the stay-at-home order. So that's what this form kind of entails, and it goes over details of it. So the top portion of the form, as you can see, it's very standard. You'll know some of this may even automatically populate once you start putting in the other contract forms, but it's basically asking for their name, the property's address, so on and so forth. As you start getting down further, you want to see, and again, I'll read some of these verbiages to you, and that way you guys can have it. But it's basically seller and broker acknowledge that they are in mutual benefit for addressing the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the sale of their property. And in this mutual benefit of being considered, the addendum is going to remain in force for the entirety of the contract until two things either happen. Number one, there's a termination of the government orders, either being including the local, state, and federal, which is impacting the stay-at-home order, or number two, there's a termination between the contract. If you guys agree to, cancel the agreement. So those two things need to happen in order for this addendum to go away. Property showing. So it addresses property showings. Now here, the seller has an option. If he takes on a listing agreement, he can still have you market the property and says, you know what, I only want to market it virtually. I don't want to market it with people. So if that's his decision, then he's going to check property showings does not agree to any of the paragraphs that are going to be below. Okay. If he agrees, then what he's agreeing to is that he's being advised that people are going to enter their house. As brokers, we will do our best and our due diligence in vetting them, and we're going to make them fill out a form, the PEAD form. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. I've seen it now at this point. So the broker is now telling the seller, we're going to fill this form out, and we're going to complete this forms when we do these showings as a standard protocol going forward. In addition, we're providing them a link, okay, for best practices. What I suggest is that while you're having a conversation with your prospective seller, you go ahead and you email them this link on a separate email. So then that way they have it, they can click on it, and they can read it. So even it might even be good to even send it before you even get into contract, so they can see that, hey, guess what? When we get ready to sell your house and put that on the market, here's some of the best practice guidelines that we're going to be implementing. That's been issued by the CAR. And these are mandates that we're going to be following. So then that way they get much more familiar with it. So this is almost coming as a second viewing. In addition, you're going to be checking and informing some additional two boxes. All right. You're going to check box B, where they may check box B, which is basically saying that in addition to the vetting process, you're going to make sure that they can qualify for the property. We already do this. It's basically a pre-approval letter and bank statements. Okay. The second thing is that we're going to ensure that the buyer or prospective buyer, I should say, has seen this property online and they've virtually maybe toured it. Okay. And these are two options. In addition, in terms of marketing activities, we're going to check everything that we're going to be doing on the property. Now, there's also that box that the seller doesn't have to agree to any of this. However, if they do agree, we're going to be checking the boxes of stuff that we're going to be doing. Are we going to be staging? Are we going to install a sign on the front yard? Are we going to be doing virtual tours and taking pictures? Are we going to do an inspection prior to the sale, to complete our disclosures? In addition, they have two other boxes that are checked. So maybe you're going to do some additional things, or you're going to need other vendors to come onto the property to preview the home and prepare it for the sale. I don't know, but those two boxes are going to be checked. Now, if there's more than just those two boxes, use an addendum and reference this on your addendum, okay? The CAR RLA-CAA form. And here below, it outlines some additional activities. All right. Now, what the seller is doing, so let's just say, now this goes back to what happens if the seller is prohibiting any of the activities. Now, if you recall, on a standard listing agreement, if the seller interjected by not allowing the broker to do their job in selling their house, for example, not allowing access to the property, not being able to perform their duties in a fiduciary manner, then that leaves the seller exposed for liability, right? And and basically breach of contract. Number 4 now circumvents that and says basically if they don't agree to this because they don't want you to perform certain broker duties, they're not obligated to. Okay. And in addition, what we have to do is we have to work around it in order to get their home sold. Okay. So that's something that's kind of changed, but again, it's protecting the seller, and it's stated in item C. You know, if the seller is prohibiting or limiting access, seller is advised to seek the advice of a qualified real estate attorney prior to modifying any contract or addendum to any real estate agreement entered into between seller and buyer. Such modification may be required in order to contractually prohibit or limit access by a buyer or other broker. And again, this remains in effect until the orders are lifted or if there's a cancellation. You might have a situation where the seller wants to get into a listing contract with you, but they want to withhold it from the MLS until this is over or for a certain period of time. Now, this is different than a pocket listing. The pocket listing is a different form. Do not use this if you're trying to do a pocket listing, okay? But this box will be checked. So you will still have to fill out that SELM form as well if you're going to have a off-market listing. All right, scope of broker duty. Again, if you guys can read this on your own, but it's basically outlining the fact that broker is not going to be, let's say you have a situation to where a buyer is, you know, they may sign a PAD or they may not refuse to sign a PAD, and now they're trying to enter the property. If you're there as a showing and you've taken the protective measures, you're not responsible and cannot physically stop them from entering the property. You're letting the seller know that you're going to do your best and your due diligence to perform these actions. But let's say you have a rogue buyer that just starts walking onto the property. As a broker, you cannot physically get involved in preventing them to get onto that property. That is the seller's, responsibility. For example, you can't go and grab that other person. You can't get into a assault situation. You can't build a fence around their property, So keep in mind that this is their instructions, that you are going to do your best in terms of performing these actions and ensuring that, this person that does come onto the property is taking the appropriate measures. But at the end of the day, the seller's assuming all risk and foregoing any loss or liability or claims against the brokerage. And then if you have additional terms. When it comes to number 8, if you do have additional terms, please run those by me first before you agree to it and have the seller sign. I'd like to review any type of additional terms or requests the seller may have. All right. I'm going to try to jump back on here. Do you guys have any questions so far? Nope. Okay. Good. We'll move on to the next one, the PEAD. So let's say you now have a listing agreement, or now let's say you have a buyer. Okay. This form needs to be filled out by everybody that's going to be stepping onto the property for reviewing. And it's going to be given to all parties, including appraisers, contractors, inspectors. Everybody needs to fill out this PEAD form each time they step into a property. Now, if someone shows up for a showing, and let's say grandma is part of the showing now, but grandma didn't sign the PEAD form, you cannot let grandma enter the property. So I suggest maybe you print one of these forms out and take it with you. Okay. Vice versa. This form doesn't reference minor children. Okay. I would still have the minor child's name, and I would have the parent sign the form if kids are going to be entering the property. Maybe that might be addressed in a future PEAD form, but for now, again, have everybody sign it. If it's a minor child, have the parents sign it and acknowledge it. The first two kind of go over the basics of what's going on. Explains a little bit about the COVID virus, what the stay-at-home orders are. Number 3, the real estate sales and activities that are essential. And as you can see from the bolded part, some county and city orders are more restrictive and may take precedence over federal state guidelines. You understand that when you're engaging in these types of activities, and if they are against the federal stay-at-home order, you're in violation of that order. and you're acting against the advice of the broker. We're not advising people to go out and look at properties if the stay-at-home order starts to crack down again. You know, at this time, real estate is an essential business. So with respect to that, this is the reason why some of these forms are here now. Okay. Purpose of entry, again, it's reviewing and inspecting the property primarily for the activity of facilitating the sale. Okay. Again, number 5 is advising the seller to take appropriate precaution. That means when someone comes in, you should try to disinfect the knobs, although we will give special attention to it and we may try to wipe down or certain doorknobs or handles. They should also acknowledge the fact that maybe they should do another swipe if something in case gets missed. Also for the fact that if they do wipe it down prior, when people go into the property, we're asking them not to touch a lot of things and kind of do more of a visual walkthrough. But again, if they end up touching something, we'll ask the agent also, hey, can you also exercise, the agent on the other party, can you also exercise appropriate measures to make sure your clients, you know, wipe something down or you wipe something down before you leave the property? They're big on that. They reiterate it in multiple sections. Item 6 breaks it down for them in detail, A through E. And basically it says to them that you're going to be wearing masks. They want you to wear gloves, have a protective, other measures for your, you know, shoes. And then when you're done, make sure you dispose of those items. Even as you're walking through the house, practice social distancing, stay 6 feet away. And as a broker, if you see that not happening, or as an agent, I'm saying, if you see that not happening, make sure you vocalize the fact that, hey, look, guys, please, you know, make sure you guys are staying 6 feet apart from each other while doing it. I mean, obviously, if it's a family, it's going to be a different situation. But if you see another party there, like an appraiser, like an inspector, make sure that they're exercising those. Tell your clients to maybe let them do their job. Maybe they'll come back and give us a summary afterwards. You know, and that's pretty much it of this form. And at the bottom of it, everybody who's signing this form is basically attesting to the fact that they don't have any of the COVID symptoms that are outlined in here. Okay. The addendum. So now let's say that you've walked through the property, and we'll use a buyer scenario for this. Let's say the buyers are agreeing to write an offer on the property. They like the property. This is a form that goes now with the purchase contract, okay, or a counteroffer. Basically, what this addendum is saying, the CVA, in short, what it's basically saying is that we understand that there is a COVID virus right now. There's a, you know, unprecedented pandemic going on, really changed the real estate transaction. There's other uncertainties that are going on outside of a scope of a real estate transaction. You know, so let's just say that if by some reason, you know, we're fine with entering contract right now, everything is good, we're agreeing to everything, you know, the loan is solid, pre-approvals are in place, they are qualified to purchase the home. The sellers are agreeing to sell. There's nothing that's going to prevent the seller from canceling the agreement now. Everything is good. We're signing this addendum that if in case something does happen that is COVID related, that we have the right to either extend escrow or we have the right to cancel. Okay. That's what this form states. There's nothing wrong going on in the transaction right now, but just in case, if something happens that's due to the coronavirus pandemic, then we have the right to cancel. Okay. And that could mean a job loss. Okay. That could mean that someone got infected with COVID virus. Maybe the seller got infected during this transaction. Maybe the buyer or the seller, okay, someone in their family got affected that they now have to care for. Okay. So this is what this form is used for. And if that were to happen, then an additional form needs to be filled out, which is the NUCC. Okay. So that's what this form relates to. That everything is great. There's nothing wrong. We're prepared to close escrow and work towards that closing 110%. But if something were to happen, keep in mind we have the right to either extend escrow or to cancel. Okay. Now let's just say you enter the contract, you're in escrow, and that unfortunate event happens. That's COVID related. Then this is the form that needs to be filled out next. The NUCC. Okay. The NUCC form, Notice of Unforeseen Coronavirus Circumstances. So you're going to check the appropriate box of what it relates to. Okay. So when you turn in that CVA, this then gets followed as a reminder. So both forms then get submitted. They're already going to sign the CVA when they're in contract as part of the purchase agreement, but you're going to send that form in with this form, the unforeseen circumstances. Now it breaks it out for you, loss of income. Maybe there's a delay with the notary, and loan docs are now being delayed, lender delayed, appraiser delay, whatever it is, the stay-at-home order, whatever ones are being impacted by the COVID, that's the box you're going to be checking. It could be another issue, who knows? So then that's going to also be checked box as well. Okay. Let me check back in here with you guys. Any questions?
Yeah, Ashish, can you please, I'm sorry, I missed the name of the very first form. It was addendum to the listing agreement, I guess?
Correct. So the very first form was this one, the listing agreement, coronavirus addendum or amendment.
RLA.
CAA.
Okay. Thank you. I just missed that. Okay.
Sure. Perfect. Okay. So toggle back to you guys. Any questions right now regarding the three forms we went over? Nope.
All right. 4 forms, right?
Say that again, Karina.
Is it 4 forms? I thought it's 4.
We've gone through, let me see. We've gone through, I think, 4. Correct. 1, 2, 3, 4 thus far. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next forms are basically for lease agreements. So if we don't have any questions regarding a residential transaction that has to do with a purchase or a sale, the next forms are going to be related to a lease. Now, I know some of you guys have current leases. Some of you guys have done leases in the past. Some of you guys might be, having investors that have properties that you work with. And they may not be aware of some of these forms, but are going to be impacted as the weeks, months continue to move forward under the stay-at-home order. And as unfortunate events start to happen to people losing their jobs. So the first one is that landlords are supposed to send this out from the jump. Notice of tenant of ability to pay rent during a coronavirus pandemic. So if you're a landlord, as a courtesy, you are supposed to give your tenant a notice basically saying, look, if for some reason you've been impacted by the COVID-19 and you've lost, your financial obligation to pay rent, we understand and we will work with you on that. That's what this basically states, this form. It was supposed to be mailed out to the tenant. The tenant should receive it. And if you don't mail it out and don't provide it to your tenant, you could be in violation of local laws, okay, as well as state, county. But basically, that's what this form is. This is also a good option for you guys to now reach out to those investors, reach out to those people that you helped lease their home. I know a few of us that are on the call today, you guys had some closed leases that you did last year. And you work with investors that own multiple rental properties. Great opportunity for you to reach out and be like, hey, hope you're doing well. Hope your family's safe. Also, did you happen to notice, send your tenants a notice? If you haven't, good time to send it out now. In addition, if you do have a lease, the same form, PEAD form, which talks about the entry into a property, but this one is specifically related for the lease. Okay. And it's almost the same. Some differences, basically, rather than stating seller, it states tenant, right? Talks about the signer's responsibility of being advised to clean and disinfect the premises after the person is allowed to leave or enter the premises. Talks about the property manager as opposed to a role of a broker or an agent. What should the property manager be doing if they're going to be part of that walkthrough of a viewing? And again, all signers are signing to and attesting to the fact that they don't have any of the symptoms for COVID-19. The third form for the lease is a coronavirus addendum or amendment, similar to what we saw on the first form for the listing agreement. This gets implemented into any new leases that are being taken into effect. So if the tenant enters into a lease agreement and during their lease agreement, due to a COVID-19 circumstance, they are no longer able to perform their financial obligation of paying the rent or closing on a lease, they have the option to either cancel or extend the option. Okay. And you'll see that here at the bottom of the paragraphs. Okay. Extension of time for tenant to occupy the premises. Okay. The date of occupancy shall be extended to, and they write that in there. Okay. Delivery of the NUCC form LR. So those two forms, again, work in conjunction with each other if for some reason they're unable to deliver the property. Okay. And we'll go on to that form. And it states what were the circumstances that you were affected by for the COVID-19. Very similar to the other form. And let's say you're in a rental agreement. Rental agreement has already been executed, fully executed on a lease agreement. But again, now they've hindered their obligation for paying rent due to the COVID-19. You're going to work out terms. As a landlord, you're going to work with them in terms of what type of either repayment of the rent forgiveness, rent cooperation are you going to provide them to help complete or remain in contract, I should say. And then they also have to provide you with proof. Okay. And they're going to provide you with whatever that proof is, whether it's if they're on unemployment or if they lost their job, a job loss letter, maybe they're on furlough. So it could be a temporary issue rather than a longer permanent issue. And then what are the months? Now, if you see them going further than just extended to May, that's also going to be added in here. And then what type of repayment program are you going to allow? Currently, from what I've read, is that if someone is not able to pay their rent until April, May, after, let's just say if the stay-at-home order is released and the local governments now state that the tenants are back into their obligation of paying rent, they have 90 days after the removal of a stay-at-home order to get current with their rent. So let's just say if the order is released in May, they have 90 days from May to become current before a landlord could take any type of action or any type of eviction process. And so keep that in mind. I mean, if you're talking to your investors or landlords, and if they think that, they're going to be immediately able to, evict them, I'm sure a lot of them have already been aware of this, but some of them may not be if they only own like a couple of properties. And sometimes I know that, some tenants are continuing to pay their rent because they're continuing to work. It's not a COVID issue, but that's any point in time that could happen. And they may need to have this form in place. All right, that's it on my end. Any questions? All right, I'm gonna stop presenting.
Question.
Yes.
Basically, all those forms are available to brokers, basically. So the landlords who, let's say, renting the property for a long time, they do not have a contact with their broker who sold them the property or any of that stuff. So how would they know? What would the consequences be for non-compliance, for example? of some of the landlords who are not in contact with the agents?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. They're really leaving it up to the landlord. The state and local governments, they're saying that as a landlord, it's up to you. It's your responsibility to know what the current laws and guidelines are. And if you're not, consistently checking on, the housing authority's website or the, other types of, if you're not in contact with an attorney or you don't have a management company operating it for you, you are responsible for that. So I think it's a good idea to reach out to some of these investors or landlords that you may have worked with in the past or that you may know. Now, again, you can't take the responsibility of saying, I'm going to complete this form, but you can say, hey, look, there's a form out there for you guys, and you should be aware of what some of the tenants' rights are that are implemented out there.
Is there like a website, like some type of government housing authority, a website where spells out all of that without brokers being involved?
Yeah, it's the housing authority. Watch, let me see if I could screen share it, and it's just a Google, but I'll show it to you right now. Let me just share my screen again. Okay. I'll just do LA Housing Authority. And it's the HL, it's this one, HACLA.
HACLA.
This is the website.
Uh-huh.
And if they go on here, they talk about programs. They talk about what landlords benefits, landlords registrations. Okay. Doing business. Okay. The other thing, there's an advertiser on our SAAR site called Dennis P. Block. Sort of the attorney for landlords. I mean, you could tell by his website, it says evict 123. So he has a lot of other types of information that are targeted towards landlords. Regarding their rights. He offers consultation. And that's his right there. And in no ways am I giving an endorsement. It's just, these are sites. This is already an advertiser on SIAR. And I've seen his name pop up. And then this is the actual LA, housing website for the city of Los Angeles. A lot of the homes fall under this category for rent control. So these are two good starts for landlords.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Very
no problem.
Important information.
All right, let me stop presenting. All right. All right. So if there's no questions regarding any of the forms that we went over, I'm going to turn it over to Jackie.
Okay, so I won't take too long. So last week, hold on. Can you guys still see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last week we went over the clients and how to add clients to your contact lists. And there was a question about the action plans that we've added to the contacts. So here, right here where it says action plans under marketing, you click it and it takes you here. And these are all the ones that they've already made for you. So like one
Jackie,
of them was, yeah.
I don't see your screen. I just see the J. I don't know if that's just me.
There too. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Can you see it now?
It's you.
I see you now.
Shit. Okay. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
You're back.
All right. Now?
There we go. Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I still see it. You still see my screen?
No, now we're good. Now we see the Angle Evoker's buyer action plan.
Okay, so how I got there was I went to marketing and then you press action plans, right? So here it has all the action plans. These have already been made for you by corporate. And so you can add these, edit these. So one of them we saw last week was like the buyer's action plan. And they already have like all these templates and reminders set for you. You can edit these. So this one's already made. So what you do is you press copy and you can edit it to, I don't know, my buyer action plan. And so now this is the edited version, the new one that you made. And if you see here, you can add a task, add an email, remove activities. And so here you can do all that there. So like say you wanted to add an email, they have a whole bunch of stock templates here you can go off of. And I believe most of these are in here, depending on if they're buyers or sellers. Has the birthday template, buyer template. And what you can do is you can add these here too, if you'd like, or rearrange these, but you do have to rearrange the days. So like on the first day would be this, on the third day, you would do a phone call. You can reorder like this, but you still have to change the days because it won't matter. It'll be still sent out on the third day, even though it's above the first one in the order. So that's, you know, for one of those. But if you go back to your action plans and you want to make one yourself, you can create a new action plan. And here you can do it by calendar. You know how it makes you choose days? Just for the buyer action plan, it has days, but you can change to make it a home anniversary. You can do it by calendar and schedule certain dates. So like say you wanted to do a newsletter monthly, then maybe you do it every 30 days, something gets sent out. Or you can do a calendar date. So you can do, you know, the first of every month. And you press save and you fill it out that way. So you would add or remove different emails or tasks. And right here where it says email and email marketing, this also has all of the templates. So like, for example, this is a birthday one. I'll choose the birthday one. Let's see, hold on. Hello, okay. And it's already here pre-made for you with your information below. So say you wanted to edit this and change, you know, a birthday wish to something different, to just happy birthday, or you wanted to change some of the text, you would just go through these tabs on the side and you're able to edit it that way. And you can save it or send it immediately, however you want to do that. And another thing for the action plans is like for the birthdays here, when you click it, you can assign people to these different action plans. So in my contacts, everybody that had a birthday, well, except for one of them, I added to this action plan. So on their birthday, they will get an email from you immediately because they're assigned to this action plan. And it will come from here. You'll also get an email to like your website. I mean, you can set it up to get an email to your personal email as well to make sure maybe that they got it. You can CC yourself. But that's just the birthdays. So you can add home anniversaries, wedding anniversaries. You can make, I actually was working on making a new action plan for like a new listing. So you create a new action plan, let's see, new listing. So it doesn't have to be just for your buyer. So maybe I do it by days, save, and then you can just add tasks to it. So this is, let me just use install sign, for example. And then you can choose the task type. So it's a task, right? And you can have them send you a reminder, like, you know, a day before or an hour before, like on that day, and it'll send you an email reminder letting you know, hey, install the sign. So that would be like what, day 1. So you can add tasks, remove them, add showings when you have them, and it'll remind you about your showings. If you have a follow-up phone call you want to add, an open house, you can add those in there. And so it's a pretty cool tool to use if you don't have something like that already. And all of this, as well as like your clients, for your clients lists, that command app that we were talking about, it's hard to show on here, but when you go into Academy and you go through the different items or different webinars that you can sit through, there is one that's called Connect, and it's really good. It'll tell you a lot about the app and how it's integrated here. So everything on here is going to be on that Connect app, all your clients, and you can actually add them and add clients and edit them as well on the command app. And it's just really, it's like a cool tool to use when you're not at your computer. You can get their emails, their phone numbers, send them an email directly from the app, and it'll look like it's coming from your website or your email. And one more thing that I want to show you guys, so you can edit your action plans on your contact list. I actually did like a test one for myself, and I logged in as if I signed a home valuation form that like I wanted information about selling my home, and all this like populates up here. Let me see. So I added the buyer action plan to it just for a test, because I didn't see the seller one there till later. And it actually does send emails. I've actually gotten a few in my other email account with updates, and they're pretty cool. Where's my client notes or email? Okay. So the activity. So when someone does an input form or a lead form on your website, it gets sent here. Okay. And so I did what's my home worth. So when you open it on your lead, it gives you all the information that they filled out on the site. So it has their phone number, their address, some information that they know about the home. So like the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. And then in regards to like buyers, you can do, or sellers, I guess, you can create, like, you know how in the MLS, you can create an auto search for them. So you can create one of those auto searches here, and or a schedule a market report, you can create that here, but you can do different parameters like for the listing. Like, so I just did Whittier homes that were under like 900,000 that had 4 beds, 3 baths. So just like you would in the MLS, but you can do that from here, and it will send it to them from here as well. And you can track it, and they can save it. It's a portal, just like the MLS, but you're doing it from your website. So you can see what homes they look through, which ones they favored and stuff like that. You can create new searches for them. And for the sellers, you know, to see like what homes maybe have come up since their house has been listed and what they're going for. So that was something cool that I saw there that I didn't really go through last time because I didn't have like a lead that signed up. So I just did it myself. But in Academy Online, it goes through each one of these tabs like in a lot more detail. I'm actually starting to use it a lot more. So, and I found like one glitch on my email website isn't my website. So I'm actually talking with them because I couldn't change it. And so they're going to change it for me. So if you guys go through here and you see anything that is off or incorrect, please like let me know so that we can fix it, or I can send it to them. But hopefully like with all the stuff they have to fix on mine, it will fix like everybody else's. Any questions right now so far?
I saw that. Oh, go ahead, Karina.
Actually, that plan and all that stuff is connected to the Engel and Walker's email address we have, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that Market Watch tab. That seemed really interesting. So every Friday night, your clients that you add onto that will get a report, like a Market Watch.
Yes, you can schedule it. Let me see.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna see one of those reports.
Yeah, you can create it and schedule it to get, give them one every week, month, however you want. But you can create those market reports. There's a lot of different settings or parameters you can set for that too.
That's great. So if they want to see what the activity is in their neighborhood, there you go. They get a weekly report every Friday evening. That's cool.
Here too. Sorry, I think I have a lot going on here, so it's taking a while. But yeah, when you press that tab, it's when you start clicking through this stuff, it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you guys do have questions, like look through the Academy online. It's really informative. It just takes a while. But other than that, it's a pretty cool tool that we have to use and becoming more familiar with it. All right. Well, that's all I have for you guys for that. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out and we can do a one-on-one if you want to go into more detail about it. But honestly, if I went through every tab, it will probably take all day. But those are some of the cool ones that I feel like you guys would benefit most from.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate it. And
also, one last thing, if you guys are interested in doing virtual open houses, let me know, because it's available through Engel Volkers. It's a whole nother lead form and it'll take a while, but I'll go through it with you guys. Otherwise, I'll go through it next week. If you guys are trying to do one sooner, let me know and I can walk you through it too.
Are you talking about the press release that came out today with Metaphor that Engel and Volkers are now? So there was a press release done today, and we've had it in the past. I think they just kind of did a newer initiative. They partnered with Metaphor. I think previously it was with a different company, but as you know, we have a virtual 3D camera in-house that we can do for all of our listings. Well, Engel and Volkers just released a press release today that they have now partnered with Metaphor, which is a platform that does these 3D virtual tours. So that's, again, something that we offer all of our clients on a listing. It's offered to you guys as agents, and it's part of your executive suite of solutions and platforms.
Yeah, so that's one way. But the way I'm talking about for the virtual open houses, it's actually a lead form that goes onto your website on that listing, and they have to fill it out. And you tell them the virtual open house is going to be between 9 and 10 on Saturday morning. And they fill out that lead form for more information, and you contact them and you set up like a Zoom or a Hangout. And you're walking the house and they're tuning in, and it's a virtual open house.
Is that through like a Facebook thing, or is it through our website?
Our website. So we have,
awesome.
the lead form. I can show you where to put it on your website, how to share it, and then people sign up on it. And it's a way for you guys to get leads. It asks them if they have an agent or if they don't. And so when you share that out, they sign up, and then you can, maybe just email everyone or call them and be like, hey, or text, this is the Zoom for this date for this open house, please tune in, so this way you got their information. And then you kind of get it face-to-face for a Zoom or whatever if your clients are comfortable. Like I know Kimberly, it's her house, so she'd probably feel comfortable doing a virtual tour through it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like one other way that you can do it, and they offer it for us. So
that would be cool because we could leverage that in so many ways in terms of marketing.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see that.
Yeah. So if I hear from any of you guys like this week about it, I'll talk about it on next Tuesday. We'll go through that. That one's pretty short and easy. So
perfect. All right, guys. If there's no other questions, we'll close out the meeting.
Hey, Santi, you want to send me a recipe? A healthy recipe that I can put in the newsletter for Friday?
Ha!
Chicken, Brussels sprouts, and rice.
Come on, man. You're the Foreman King. You do like you're on mute. You're on mute.
My bad. I forgot I pressed that mute button. You actually have my meal plan, so you could take it from there.
You want me to just take one from there?
Yeah. Or from the other cooking we've done in the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I mean, I could put
Sherry
some
sent me
together.
one, so two. A dessert, though.
What's that?
Sherry sent me a good dessert to put in there. A healthy one, though. It's healthy.
I hope so. She said everything had a bunch of sugar last time.
Let's see.
Yeah, I could put something together real quick and text
Oh,
it.
don't worry. I can just pull it from something else. Not a big deal.
No biggie.
No, I want Santi's recipe.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So
All
we're
right, good.
set. I'll see you guys Thursday morning.
Yep.
Thursday, it's on 9 o'clock.
All right.
All right.
I'll
Hope
see you
you're
guys.
prepared.
Have a good one. It's lunchtime for me.
Take care, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye.
All right, I'll see you guys. Take care. Bye.
How do you get out of here?
Bloopers, huh?